Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 546th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that when Sindbad the Seaman returned from his travels to Baghdad, the house of peace, he arrived at home with a great store of diamonds and money and goods." Continued he, "I forgathered with my friends and relations, and gave alms and largesse, and bestowed curious gifts, and made presents to all my friends and companions. Then I betook myself to eating well, and drinking well, and wearing fine clothes, and making merry with all my fellows, and forgot all my sufferings and the pleasures of return to the solace and delight of life, with light heart and broadened breast. And even every one who heard of my return came and questioned me of my adventures and of foreign countries. And I related to them all that had befallen me, and much I had suffered, whereat they wondered and gave me joy of my safe return. This, then, is the end of the story of my second voyage, and tomorrow, inshallah, I will tell you what befell me in my third voyage." The company marveled at his story and supped with him, after which he ordered 100 dinars of gold to be given to the porter, who took the sum with many thanks and blessings, which he stinted not even when he reached home, and went his way, wondering at what he had heard. Next morning, as soon as day came in its sheen and shone, it rose, and praying the dawn prayer, repaired to the house of Sindbad the Seaman, even as he had bidden him, and went in and gave him good morrow. The merchant welcomed him, and made him sit with him till the rest of the company had arrived, and when they had all well eaten and drunken, and were merry and with joy and jollity, their host began by saying, "Hearken, O my brothers, to what I am about to tell you, for it is even more wondrous than what you have already heard. But Allah alone kenneth what things his omniscience concealed from man. And listen now to the third voyage of Sinbad the Seaman. As I told you yesterday, I returned from my second voyage overjoyed at my safety and with the increase of wealth, Allah having requited me all that I had wasted and lost, and I abode a while in Baghdad city, savoring the utmost ease and prosperity, and comfort and happiness, till the carnal man was once more seized with longing for travel and diversion and adventure, and yearned after traffic and lucre, and for that human heart is naturally prone to evil. So, making up my mind, I laid in great plenty of goods suitable for a siege voyage, and repairing to Basra, went down to the shore, and found there a fine ship ready to sail, with a full crew and numerous company of merchants, men of worth and substance, faith and piety and consideration. I embarked with them, and we sailed on the blessing of Allah Almighty, and on his aidance and his favor, to bring our voyage to a safe and prosperous issue. And already we congratulated one another on good fortune and boon voyage. We fared on from sea to sea, and from island to island, and city to city, in all delight and contentment, buying and selling whatever we touched, and taking our solace and our pleasure, till one day, when as we sailed, the dashing sea, swollen with clashing billows, behold, the master, who stood on the gunwale and examining the ocean in all directions, cried out with a great cry, and buffeted his face, and plucked out his beard, and rent his raiment, and bade furl the sail, and cast the anchors. So we said to him, "O Ra, what is the matter?" "Known, O my brethren, Allah preserve you, that the wind hath gotten the better of us, and hath driven us out of our course into the mid-ocean, and destiny, for all our ill luck, hath brought us to the mountain of the Zug, a hairy folk like apes, among whom man ever fell and came forth alive, and my heart presaged that we all be dead men." Hardly had the master made an end of his speech when the apes were upon us. They surrounded the ship on all sides, swarming like locusts, and crowding the shore. They were the most frightful of wild creatures, covered with black hair like felt, foul of favor, and small of stature, being but 4 spans high, yellow-eyed, black-faced, none knowing their language, nor what they are, and they shun the company of men. We feared to slay them or strike them or drive them away because of their inconceivable multitude, lest if we hurt one, the rest fall on us and slay us, for the numbers prevail over courage. So we let them do their will, albeit we feared they would plunder our goods and gear. They swarmed up the cables and gnawed them asunder, and on likewise they did with all the ropes of the ship, so that all fell off from the wind, and stranded upon them the mountainous coast. Then they laid hands on all the merchants and crew, and landing us on the island, made off with the ship and its cargo, and went their ways, we know not whither. We were thus left on the island, eating of its fruits and pot herbs, and drinking of its streams, till one day we spied in its midst what seemed an inhabited house. So we made for it fast as our feet could carry us, and behold, it was a castle, strong and tall, compassed about with a lofty wall, and having a two-leaved gate of ebony wood, both of which leaves stood open. We entered, and found within a space wide and bare like a great square, round which stood many high doors open thrown, and at the far end a long bench of stone and braziers, with cooking gear hanging thereon, and about it great plenty of bones. But we saw no one, and marveled thereat with exceeding wonder. Then we sat down in the courtyard a little while, and presently falling asleep, slept from the forenoon till sundown, when lo, the earth trembled under our feet, and the air rumbled with a terrible tone. Then there came down upon us from the top of the castle a huge creature in the likeness of a man, black of color, tall and big of bulk, as he were a great date tree, with eyes like coals of fire, and eye teeth like boar's tusk, and a vast big gape like a mouth of a well. Moreover, he had long, loose lips like camels, hanging down upon his breast, and ears like two jarms falling over his shoulder blades, and the nails of his hands were like the claws of a lion. When we saw this frightful giant, we were like to faint, and every moment increased our fear and terror, and we became as dead men for excess of horror and affright. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 547th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sindbad the seaman continued, When we saw this frightful giant, we were struck with exceeding terror and horror, and after trampling upon the earth, he sat a while on the beach. Then he arose, and coming to us, seized me by the arm, choosing me out from among my comrades the merchants. He took me up in his hand, and turning me over, felt me as a butcher feeleth the sheep he is about to slaughter. But I, a little mouthful in his hands, but finding me lean and fleshless for stress of toil and trouble and weariness, let me go, and took up another, whom in like manner he turned over and felt and let go, nor did he cease to feel and turn over the rest of us, one after another, till he came to the master of the ship. Now, he was a sturdy, stout, broad-shouldered wight, fat, and in full vigor. So he pleased the giant, who seized him as a butcher seizeth the beast, and throwing him down, set his foot on his neck, and brake it. After which he fetched a long spit, and thrusting it up his backside, brought it forth up through the crown of his head. Then lighting a fire, he set over it the spit with the rays thereon, and turned it over the coals till the flesh was roasted. When he took the spit off the fire, and set it like at a kebab stick before him, then he tare the body, limb from limb, as one joineth the chicken, and rending the flesh with his nails, fell to eating of it, and gnawing the bones, till there was nothing left but some of these which he threw on one side of the wall. This done, he sat for a while, when he lay down on the stone bench and fell asleep, snarking and snoring like the gurgling of a lamb or a cow with its throat cut. Nor did he awake till morning, when he rose and fared forth and went his way. As soon as we were certified that he was gone, we began to talk one with the other, weeping and bemoaning ourselves for the risk we ran, and saying, Would heaven we had been drowned in the sea, or that the apes had eaten us, that were better than to be roasted over the coals. By Allah, this is a vile, foul death. But whatso the Lord willeth must come to pass. And there is no majesty, and there is no might, save in him, the glorious, the great. We shall assuredly perish miserably, and none will know of us, as there is no escape for us from this place. Then we arose and roamed about the island, hoping that happily we might find a place to hide us and the means of flight. For indeed, death was a light matter to us, provided we were not roasted over the fire and eaten. However, we could find no hiding place, and the evening overtook us. So the excess of our terror, we returned to the castle and sat down a while. Presently, the earth trembled under our feet, and the black ogre came up to us, and turning us over, felt us one after another, till he found a man to his liking, whom he took and served as he had done the captain, killing and roasting and eating him, after which he lay down on the bench and slept all night, snarking and snoring like a beast, with its throat cut, till daybreak, when he arose and went out as before. Then we drawed together and conversed and said one to the other, By Allah, we had better throw ourselves into the sea and be drowned than die roasted, for this is an abominable death. Quoth one of us, Hear ye my words. Let us cast about to kill him, and be at peace from the grief of him, and rid the Moslems of his barbarity and tyranny. Then said I, Hear me, O my brothers, if there is nothing for it but to slay him, let us carry some of his firewood and planks down to the seashore and make us a boat, wherein if we succeed in slaughtering him, we may either embark and let the waters carry us whither Allah willeth, or else abide here till some ship pass, when we will take passage in it. If we fail to kill him, we will embark on the boat and put out to sea, and if we be drowned, we shall at least escape being roasted over a kitchen fire with sliced weasons. Whilst if we escape, and if we be drowned, we die martyrs. By Allah, said they all, this rede is all right, and we agreed upon this, and set about carrying it out. So we hauled down to the beach the pieces of wood which lay about the bench, and making a boat, moored it to the strand, after which we stowed therein somewhat of victuals, and returned to the castle. As soon as evening fell, the earth trembled under our feet, and in came the blackamoor upon us, snarling like a dog about to bite. He came up to us, and feeling us and turning us over one by one, took one of us, and did with him as he had done before, and ate him, after which he lay down on the bench, and snored and snorted like thunder. As soon as we were assured that he slept, we arose, and taking 2 iron spits of this standing, there heated them in the fiercest of fires, till they were red hot, like burning coals, when we gripped fast hold of them, and going up to the giant, as he lay snoring on the bench, thrust them into his eyes, and pressed upon them all of us, until our united might, so that his eyeballs burst, and he became stone blind. Thereupon he cried with a great cry, whereat our hearts trembled, and springing up from the bench, he fell a-groping after us blindfold. We fell and fled about from him right and left, and he saw us not, but for his sight was altogether blent. But we were in terrible fear of him, and made sure we were dead men, despairing of escape. Then he found the door, feeling for it with his hand, and went out, roaring aloud, and behold, the earth shook under us for the noise of his roaring, and we quaked for fear. As he quitted the castle, he followed him, and betook ourselves to the place where he had moored our boat, saying to one another, If this accursed abide absent till the going down of the sun, and come not to the castle, we shall know that he is dead. And if he come back, we will embark on the boat, and paddle till we escape, committing our affair to Allah. But as we spoke, behold, up came the blackamoor with other 2, as they were gulls, fouler and more frightful than he, with eyes like red-hot coals, which when we saw, we hurried into the boat, and casting off the moors, paddled away and pushed out to the sea. As soon as the ogres caught sight of us, they cried out at us, and running down to the seashore, fell a-pelting us with rocks, whereof some fell amongst us, and others fell into the sea. We paddled with all our might till we were beyond their reach, but the most part of us were slain by the rock-throwing, and the winds and the waves sported with us, and carried us into the midst of the dashing sea, swollen with billows clashing. We knew not whither we went, and my fellows died, one after another, till there remained but 3, myself and 2 others. And Scheherazade perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 548th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sindbad the seaman thus continued. Most part of us were slain by the rock-throwing, and only 3 of us remained on board. For as often as one died, we threw him into the sea. We were sore exhausted for stress of hunger, but we took courage, and heartened one another, and worked for dear life, and paddled with main and might till the wind cast us upon an island. As we were dead men for fatigue and fear and famine, we landed on the island and walked about it for a while, finding that it abounded in trees and streams and birds. And we ate of the fruits, and rejoiced in our escape from the black, and our deliverance from the perils of the sea. And thus we did nightfall, when we lay down and fell asleep for excess of fatigue. But we had hardly closed our eyes before we were aroused by a hissing sound, like the sough of wind and awakening saw a serpent like a dragon, a sail-seen sight of monstrous make and belly of enormous bulk, which lay in a circle around us. Presently it reared its head, and seizing one of my companions, swallowed him up to his shoulders. Then he gulped down the rest of him, and we heard his ribs crack in its belly. Presently it went away, and we abode in sore amazement and grief for our comrade, and mortal fear for ourselves, saying, By Allah, this is a marvelous thing. Each kind of death that threateneth us is more terrible than the last. We were rejoicing in our escape from the black ogre and our deliverance from the perils of the sea, but now we have fallen into that which is worse. There is no majesty, and there is no might, save in Allah. By the Almighty, we have escaped from the blackamoor and from the drowning, but how shall we escape this abominable and viperish monster? Then we walked about the island, eating of its fruits and drinking of its streams till dusk, when we climbed up into a high tree and went to sleep. There, I being on the topmost bough. As soon as it was dark night, up came the serpent, looking right and left, and making for the tree wherein we climbed, up to my comrade, and swallowed him down to his shoulders. Then he coiled about the bowl with him, whilst I, who could not take my eyes off the sight, heard his bones crack in its belly, and it swallowed him whole, after which it slid down the tree. When the day broke, and the light showed me that the serpent was gone, I came down as if I were a dead man for stress and fear and anguish, and thought to cast myself into the sea, and be at rest from the woes of the world, but could not bring myself to this, for verily life is dear. So I took 5 pieces of wood, broad and long, and bound them crosswise to the soles of my feet, and others in like fashion on my right and left side, and over my breast, and the broadest and largest I bound across my head, and made them fast with ropes. Then I lay down on the ground on my back, so that I was completely fenced in by the pieces of wood, which enclosed me like a byre. So as soon as it was dark, up came the serpent, as usual, and made towards me, but could not get at me to swallow me for the wood that fenced me in. So it wriggled round me on every side, while I looked on, like one dead by reason of my terror. And every now and then it would glide away and come back. But as often as it tried to come at me, it was hindered by the pieces of wood wherewith I had bound myself on every side. It ceased not to beset me thus from sundown till dawn. But when the light of day shone upon the beast, it made off in the utmost fury and extreme disappointment. Then I put up my hand and unbound myself, well nigh down among the dead men for fear and suffering, and went down to the island shore, whence a ship afar off in the midst of the waves suddenly struck my sight. So I tore off a great branch of a tree and made signs with it to the crew, shouting out the while, which when the ship's company saw, they said to me one another, We must stand in and see what this is. Peradventure 'tis a man. So they went for the island, and presently heard my cries, whereupon they took me on board and questioned me of my case. I told them all my adventures from first to last, where they marveled mightily, and covered my shame with some of their clothes. Moreover, they set before me somewhat of food, and I ate my fill, and I drank cold, sweet water, and it was mightily refreshing. And Allah Almighty quickened me after I was virtually dead. So I praised the Most Highest, and thanked him for his favors and exceeding mercies, and my heart revived me after utter despair, till me seemed as if all I had suffered were but a dream I had dreamed. We sailed on with fair wind. The Almighty sent us till we came to an island called Al-Salohata, which abounded in sandalwood, when the captain cast anchor. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 549th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Sindbad the seaman continued. And when we had cast anchor, the merchants and sailors landed with their goods to sell and to buy. Then the captain turned to me and said, Harkye, thou art a stranger and a pauper, and tell us that thou hast undergone frightful hardships. Wherefore I have a mind to benefit thee with somewhat that may further thee to thy native land, so thou wilt ever bless me and pray for me. So be it, answered I. Thou shalt have my prayers, quoth he. Know then that there was with us a man, a traveller, whom we lost, and we know not if he be alive or dead, for we had no news of him, so I propose to commit his bales of goods to thy charge, that thou mayest sell them in this island. A part of the proceeds we will give thee as an equivalent for thy pains and service, and the rest we will keep till we return to Baghdad, where we will inquire of his family, and deliver it to them, together with the unsold goods. Say me then, wilt thou undertake the charge, and land and sell them as the merchants do? I replied, Hearkening and obedience to thee, O my lord, and great is thy kindness to me, and thanked him. Whereupon he bade the sailors and porters bear the bales in question ashore, and commit them to my charge. The ship's scribe asked him, O master, what bales are they, and what merchant's name shall I write upon them? And he answered, Write on them the name Sinbad the seaman, him who was with us in the ship, and whom we lost at the Rook's Island, and of whom we have no tidings. For we mean the stranger to sell them, and we will give him a part of the price for his pains, and keep the rest till we return to Baghdad, where if we find the owner, we will make it over to him, and if not, to his family. And the clerk said, Thy words are apposite, and thy rede is right. Now when I heard the captain give orders for the bales to be inscribed with my name, I said to him, By Allah, I am Sinbad the seaman. So I armed myself with courage and patience, and waited till all the merchants had landed and were gathered together, talking and chaffering about buying and selling. Then I went up to the captain and asked him, O my lord, knowest thou what manner of man was the Sinbad whose goods thou hast committed to me for sale? And he answered, I know of him not, save that he was a man from Baghdad city, Sindbad hight the seaman, who was drowned with many others when we lay anchor at such an island, and I have heard nothing of him since then. At this, I cried out with a great joy and said, O captain, whom Allah keep, know that I am Sinbad the seaman, and that I was not drowned. But when thou castest anchor at the island, I landed with the rest of the merchants and crew, and I sat down in a pleasant place by myself and ate somewhat of food I had with me, and enjoyed myself till I became drowsy and was drowned in sleep. And when I awoke, I found no ship and none near me. These goods are my goods, and these bales are my bales, and all the merchants who fetch jewels from the Valley of Diamonds saw me there, and will bear me witness that I am the very Sinbad the seaman. For I related to them everything that had befallen me, and told them how you forgot me, and left me sleeping on the island, and that betided me which betided them. When the passengers and crew heard my words, they gathered about me, and some of them believed me, and others disbelieved. But presently, behold, one of the merchants, hearing me mention the Valley of Diamonds, came up to me and said to them, Hear what I say, good people, when I relate to you the most wonderful thing of my travelers. And I told you that at the times we cast down the slaughtered animals into the Valley of Serpents, I casting with the rest, as was my wont. And there came up a man, hanging to mine. Ye believed me not, and gave me the lie. Yes, quoth they, thou didst tell us some tale, but we had no call to credit thee. He resumed, Now this is the very man, by token that he gave me diamonds of great value, and high price, whose like are not to be found, requited me more than would have come up sticking to my quarter of meat. And I accompanied with him to Basra city, where he took leave of us, and went on to his own native stead, whilst we returned to our own land. This is he, and he told us his name, Sindbad the Seaman, and how the ship left him on the desert island. And know ye that Allah hath sent him hither, so might the truth of my story be manifest to you. Moreover, these are his goods, for when he first foregathered with us, he told us them, and the truth of his word is patent. Hearing the merchant's speech, the captain came up to me and considered me straightly a while, after which he said, What was the mark on these bales? Thus and thus, answered I, and reminded him of somewhat that had passed between him and me when I shipped with him from Basra. Thereupon he was convinced that I was indeed Sinbad the Seaman, and took me around the neck and gave me joy of my safety, saying, By Allah, O my Lord, thy case is indeed wondrous, and thy tale marvelous. But lauded be Allah, who hath brought thee and me together again, and who hath restored to thee thy goods and gear. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. And so do I cease my telling of this tale, until it be morrow.